Research shows that those who place their focus on gratitude are both happier and healthier. They're more content, they're more loving, more joyful, and more peaceful, and maybe even more patient with the people around them.
Ooh, we need more of that.
Welcome to the Blended Family Coaching Show, where you'll discover how to move your step family from just surviving to truly thriving.
Grab your headphones and listen in as we share practical, real-life strategies for building healthy bonds,
Understanding the kids' perspective,
romance and partnership,
parenting with great teamwork.
and yes, even co-parenting with a difficult ex.
We're Mike and Kim Anderson, and we believe with the right tools, every step couple can overcome the common challenges of step family life.
Join us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations to discover how you can lead your family with confidence and create the future you really want.
Well, hey everyone, welcome. Can you believe that we're coming to the end of 2021 and we're getting ready to face 2022? Isn't that amazing?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, here in the States, Thanksgiving is like 2 days away, right? And so we're so excited to be able to join you as we head into this Thanksgiving season. If you're on some other part of the globe and you're going, Thanksgiving, what's that about? Well, you might have to Google it or something and check it out. Our friends to the north up in Canada, you had Thanksgiving last month, and I hope you had a wonderful time. But we're so grateful that, again, that you're spending time here, and we're thankful for you.
And what's funny is how a holiday that's all about being thankful and expressing gratitude can leave us feeling grumpy sometimes.
Yeah, isn't it?
Thanksgiving in step families can often highlight those dynamics that we're not so thankful for, right? It can be a reminder of the conflict we have with our former spouse and the challenges around scheduling adjustments.
Yep.
For some parents, they might be anticipating some sadness because their kids will be spending Thanksgiving at the other home this year. Sometimes special occasions can intensify that sense of walking around on eggshells when the step relationships in our home are full of tension.
Or some of the extended family sometimes too,
right? Or maybe there's some grumpiness between us because we aren't feeling connected as a couple, or we're disagreeing about how to handle some of these holiday decisions that crop up, right?
For sure.
With all the complex dynamics and everything that might be going on in your blended family, it wouldn't be surprising to hear that you aren't looking forward to Thanksgiving this year.
That's right.
Especially if holidays in the past have been difficult for your blended family. It's very common. And that sounds a bit bleak.
I'm so glad we started the episode this way.
Yeah. This is a season that's supposed to be focused on celebration and family connection and gratitude, right? And no one wants to have a grumpy attitude on Thanksgiving. But if you're really honest with yourself, maybe that's your reality right now.
Yeah, I've been there many times.
And you know, if that's you, we want you to know you aren't alone. We have been there. And the good news is, regardless of your circumstances, you can choose between being grateful or grumpy. And today we're going to help you refocus your attitude so that you and your family can experience more peace, more connection, and celebration this Thanksgiving. We want that for you.
Absolutely. You know, too often I do actually choose grumpiness.
Are you being honest with yourself?
I am. Yeah, I'm just getting real. Sometimes I remind myself of all the things that are wrong with my circumstances. You know, I focus on the challenges or the losses, the people who aren't doing what I think they should be doing. And I regurgitate all the hurts from my past. Sometimes I vomit up some toxic grumpiness on everyone around me. Would you agree that happens to me sometimes?
I would agree.
Yeah, you agreed really fast to that. You know, my grump fests always lead to drained energy and disconnection.
Ooh, grump fest.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I have that, I feel less energetic and I feel more disconnected from everybody.
Right.
So it's not really helping me, right?
Right.
And, you know, it's true that blended family life has challenges. Step families experience loss for children and adults alike. And the people in our blended families aren't always going to act the way we want them to. I wish they would, but they just won't. However, we can still choose right where we're going to place our focus, even when things don't go as planned. A long time ago, I think this is a pretty old article in the New York Times, says that gratitude is an equal opportunity emotion. Anyone can experience it and benefit from it, even the most crotchety uncle, or I would say step uncle maybe, right? At the Thanksgiving dinner table. You know, I would even add the most stressed out parent or step parent.
Right. Can
still choose gratitude, right? It's an equal opportunity emotion. And the truth is, you get to choose your focus. I get to choose my focus. Research shows that those who place their focus on gratitude are both happier and healthier. They're more content, they're more loving, more joyful, and more peaceful, and maybe even more patient with the people around them.
Ooh, we need more of that, right?
Man, I need more of that. You need more of that from me.
So in preparation for Thanksgiving, let's explore 3 specific areas of gratefulness that you can focus on that will help you to avoid a grump fest.
Yep.
And it's our hope that you'll take today's episode to heart and truly decide that you're going to take some action today so that you can show up well and enjoy the holiday. We want that for you. So let's dive in and explore these 3 specific areas of gratitude.
Yeah, and 2 of them are really common, but one I think might surprise you. So I'm excited to kind of talk through this. The first area that we're going to look at is the things that we're grateful for. And that's really common, right? We talk about that kind of thing all the time, and we have tangible blessings in our life.
Right.
If you have a roof over your head, a shirt on your back, food in your stomach, clean water to drink, chances are you can identify something to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
You know, before you start to clean your house for the Thanksgiving guests that are coming over that are causing you a lot of stress, look around at it all and look for those blessings that you already have in your home.
Right.
Before you start preparing that Thanksgiving meal, take note of the food you're about to cook and recognize, you know what, this is a simple blessing even to have these ingredients.
Right. Not everyone does.
Everyone can find something to be grateful for. I'm convinced of that. But unless you're intentional about recognizing your own blessings and acknowledging them, that's part of the key, right? We can recognize them when they're pointed out to us, but sometimes we don't intentionally acknowledge them. You might have a really hard time feeling grateful.
Right.
And that's when grumpiness can start to set in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In last week's episode on how to avoid comparison traps, we talked about the power of counting your blessings.
That's basically what we're talking about, right?
And I mentioned that keeping a gratitude journal over the past several years has greatly helped me to avoid falling into a negative, grumpy, glass half empty mindset, right? I'm prone to that.
We're a couple of grumps, aren't we?
Sometimes.
Well, maybe. We're not so much as we used to be.
And honey, last week you kind of caught me off guard when you asked me if I numbered the entries in my journal and how many blessings did I actually have recorded there.
Okay.
And, you know, I answered you. I kind of threw out the number 500, and I was really just kind of guessing. I didn't know.
You were guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have tried to number the entries, and at one point I got off track, and the numbers were wrong, and then I just stopped numbering them at one point, right?
Sounds like you got grumpy about the numbers.
Right. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't sharing anything that was inaccurate. And also I was curious, how many do I actually have? And so I went back this week and I counted every recorded blessing in my journal.
That's awesome.
Yep. And so I'm here to report there are actually 727 entries.
Wow. That's awesome. That's even better than 500.
I know. I was surprised.
Yeah.
And like I said, whenever I start to feel discontent or dissatisfied with my life, I go back and read what I've noted in the past as something that I was grateful for. And when I read those things, I experience a meaningful transformation in my mindset, in my attitude. And suddenly I'm experiencing much more joy and contentment in my life than I was before I went back and revisited my gratitude journal.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And on top of that, when I sit down to add new entries into my journal, I'm intentionally and tangibly counting my blessings, which for me personally is so healthy and therapeutic.
So you're identifying what you're grateful for.
Yeah, I stop and think about it. And, you know, some of the entries are really simple things like I'm grateful for the sun that's shining. And, you know, that's a big deal here in the Northwest.
Yeah, we don't see it very often.
And of course, coffee is noted in my journal multiple times, I noticed. Yeah.
So that was 717 of the entries was coffee? No, not quite.
That bad.
Okay. All right.
And then there was entry number 266, which was a simple one of I'm grateful for sprouting veggie seeds in our garden.
Awesome.
They were coming up. And then entry number 311, a little ways later, I'm grateful that we're eating veggies from our garden.
Nice. I bet. Did you have anything about being grateful that the kids were eating veggies out of the garden?
Well, they weren't.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It was just us.
Sorry, I just added a grumpiness into it.
Yeah, thanks. And there was a funny one as the pandemic hit last year that I wrote in my journal. I said, I'm grateful that we already have a good supply of toilet paper. I was really feeling grateful for that.
I bet.
And around this time last year, I wrote, I was grateful for a cute baby kitten on our doorstep, a baby kitty to care for and love and laugh at.
Yeah, and now little Hermie is the terror of our household.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I'm still grateful for him and all of his funny little antics and his cuddles.
He's really cute. I don't know that I could say I was super grateful about the $500 vet bill for this supposedly free kitten.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Sorry, that was just me getting a little grumpy there.
And so some of the things that I've recorded in my journal may not seem all that significant. But for me, acknowledging even the small stuff can make a meaningful impact on my level of contentment in life when I choose to focus on what I have to be grateful for. I also wanted to mention, you know, last week in the episode, I shared a pretty vulnerable story about how I was comparing my struggling daughter, Annika, to all the other girls on the cheerleading squad.
Yeah, you did a great job sharing that.
And if you want to hear the details around that, you might need to go back and listen to last week's episode 114. But as I was counting up all the entries this week in my gratitude journal and looking at them, I noticed this one. I'm grateful for Annika's desire and her ability to talk openly and share her feelings and struggles with me.
Wow. I'd be interested in what the date was on that.
It was during a hard time.
I bet.
So even when she was struggling, I was still able to find something to genuinely be grateful for. And, you know, there were so many other entries in my journal about Annika and our two mutual kids, Phoebe and Jacob, as well.
Sure.
And, you know, I really can't talk about my gratitude journal without sharing the source of more than half of my entries, which are centered around my love of nature and my faith. The beauty, the provision, the guidance, the unconditional love, and the profound joy and peace that I experience from my relationship with God and spending time in His creation.
That's awesome.
I have so much to be grateful for. I really do.
Definitely.
So I would highly recommend and encourage you to keep a gratitude journal or discover a way of your own to intentionally and tangibly count your blessings and focus on all that you have to be grateful for in your life.
I just think that's great. And what an example, you know, to other people around you. I'm kind of challenged in that because I don't often write mine down, but I still have a lot to be grateful for. And I do verbalize them to other people around me because I'm kind of a verbal processor. And I also often express that through prayer. Just when I'm driving down the road and thinking about, like, I spend a lot of time in the car. I kind of actually enjoy the time in the car because I think a lot about, well, you know what? Things are going pretty well.
Yeah.
But I do tend to get grumpy sometimes as well.
Right.
And when I get grumpy, I have to be intentional. Your intentionality is around keeping a journal and writing it down. My intentionality tends to come more in recognizing where I'm at and making a mental shift right in the moment and go, okay, wait a second. What is it that I am actually feeling, and what do I actually, what I have to be grateful for? it's really about intentionality. There's
really
not any
is.
one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But research shows when you can get focused on what you have to be grateful for, it can actually start to change your heart and start to change your mind.
Yeah. Just like that quote from, who was it from last week? Willie Nelson. When I started counting my blessings,
Yep.
everything in my life changed.
Everything changed.
Yeah.
That's right. And research would back that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one that's really pretty clear.
Yeah.
Being grateful for those things that we have.
Right.
Another place that we can focus and really be intentional around gratitude is who we're grateful to.
Mm.
We all have people that bring value to our life. Maybe an encourager, a supporter, someone who isn't afraid to speak the truth to you and help you grow.
Right.
Right? You know, my grandma, as you know, she really changed my life.
Yeah.
Many of you listening might know that my mom passed away when I was only 1 year old. And my Nana kind of became my mom for those early years of my life.
Yeah.
She loved me unconditionally. She invested in me in really every way she could. And that was true all the way up until she passed away.
Yeah.
She was so engaged in my life. I remember early on in our marriage, you were like thinking at first, like, is this healthy or is it unhealthy? That me and Nana would have a couple hour conversation
Yeah.
pretty much every week.
Yeah. You were very close.
Absolutely. And it was a good, healthy thing. We just talked about nothing a lot of the time,
Yeah.
and we laughed and we enjoyed time. I learned more about grace and unconditional love from Nana than anyone else in my life. And I'm absolutely grateful to her for the lessons that she taught me
Yeah.
over the years. I also have a whole lot of friends and different people that I've had in my life over the years that I am so grateful to. You know, there was a season in my life, actually not long before you and I met,
Right.
where in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease, which is a form of blood cancer. And I had chemotherapy and radiation and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the place where I worked, it's a little company called Superfeet. Man, they were so good to me through that season. And
Supportive.
they continued to support me. They made sure I was okay financially. They really cared. I remember one of my buddies, he knew my chemo schedule, and he would come downstairs from the office. I was down in the warehouse the morning after I would get back from chemo every single time and be like, hey, how are you doing? How was your treatment this time? He never missed a time.
Wow.
Wow, what a great friend. You know, I had doctors who were actually really great with me.
Yeah. You even had a chemo buddy.
I did. I had a chemo buddy that we hung out, and you know, I'm really grateful for the time that I had with him, even though several years later he didn't make it, and we had to say goodbye to him. But boy, he was a good friend in that time, sitting there getting plugged into these drip machines to drip all these poisons into us. And we talked and laughed and connected and talked about our faith and all of that kind of stuff. There's people that we can be grateful to, right? I talk a lot on the podcast about my two mentors. One of them is a pastor at our church. The other one used to be the CEO at Superfeet where I worked, and he still invests in me. Both of them still invest in me.
Yeah.
And I would not be the father or the husband that I am today if it weren't for their willingness to invest. You know, and the funny thing is, one that we don't think about very much is the people that we're grateful to that we can learn from, some of them that we personally might never, ever meet.
Right.
I am so grateful for the things I've learned from author and speaker Michael Hyatt, Patrick Lencioni, some of those leaders. We've benefited from the work of Amy Porterfield and Pat Flynn. And, I mean, there's so many people, and I don't know who those people are for you, who the books are that maybe if you're listening to this, who you read, but maybe you look at those authors and go, wow, they put a lot of energy into creating this content for me that I'm benefiting from. I can be really grateful to those people because their expertise and their knowledge are being shared in areas that you might want to grow, and that can be invaluable.
Absolutely.
For me, experts in leadership and communication that I've learned so much from over the years through books and presentations and podcasts and all of that, it's shaping the way that I'm able to invest in other people. I'm so grateful to those people.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Pat Flynn.
Yeah, why is that?
We wouldn't be doing this podcast
Yeah,
if it
we
wasn't
learned a
for
lot
Pat Flynn.
We never even met. Pat Flynn doesn't even know who we are.
We didn't know what we were doing, and
That's right.
we got his course, and he walked us through it step by step. So we're grateful to Pat Flynn, even though we've never met him.
If you ever listen to this by some weird chance, thank you.
Yes. And another person we're so grateful to is Ron Deal.
Absolutely.
And his expertise around step family dynamics, because we've learned from his books and from his videos.
Mm-hmm.
And we even led a small group at our church using his material for 18 years before we actually ever got to shake his hand.
Yeah, the first time we met him was pretty funny.
He's someone that we'll always be grateful to because he challenged us to be intentional around leading our blended family.
Yep.
And we're still learning from him around how to grow in our ability to help and support others.
That's right.
He's taken the time to invest in us as step family coaches.
Yep. Thanks, Ron.
And another person we're so grateful to is our counselor, our therapist, who has brought value to our growth as individuals and in our marriage. And I honestly don't know that we'd still be married if it wasn't for her skill as a therapist and her genuine care.
Absolutely. She invested in us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. As you're listening to all this, take a minute to just ask yourself a question. Who is it that you're grateful to? Who's invested in your life or blessed you with something of value? Maybe they've imparted their wisdom, given you some kind of great advice. Maybe they brought your family a home-cooked meal or cleaned your house at a time when you really needed some practical help. Maybe they were there for you through a difficult season. They showed up with care. They extended empathy for whatever it was that you were going through. Maybe it was a complete stranger just giving you a reassuring smile and a nod that made you feel seen. I want to encourage you to take some time to really think about who you have to be grateful to in your life. And this is going to help you to feel valued, to feel cherished, to feel known and loved, and all those kind of wonderful, warm feelings that help you to avoid things like I do, like grump fests that I have this tendency to have.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously we're talking here and we've been through some stuff and we've worked through some of our challenges. And I think, I'm certainly grateful to you. You have stuck it out with me, which I'm actually amazed that you've stuck it out with me because historically there's been days where I've treated you in really poor ways, really bad ways, but you've seen something different in me and you've said, no, I'm going to engage in counseling. I'm going to learn along the way. I'm going to do some things that are tough, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel and I can see there's something new. And so thank you. I feel loved and partnered with and cherished, and I'm grateful to you.
Well, thank you for saying that, honey. And I'm pretty difficult to put up with at times too. So back at you. And last week in our episode, you also took me by surprise when you candidly asked if you were ever mentioned in my gratitude journal. And of course I said yes. But I want to take just a minute to share a few of those entries with you and with our audience, because today we're talking about who we're grateful to.
Uh-oh.
So
I'm a crier if you don't know it already.
It's just a handful of things I've recorded in my journal about you, honey. So here's one.
Okay.
I'm grateful for my skilled handyman husband who enjoys home decor projects and looks really sexy in his tool belt and work boots.
Nice. That's right. That's right.
And then an entry soon after that was, I'm grateful for my awesome new gardening table, which you made with your handyman skills. And I've enjoyed that for years.
Yep.
I also had in there, I'm grateful for the fun time Mike and I had swing dancing while Jacob played jazz music.
That was pretty fun.
That was a sweet memory.
Yep. That was fun.
And then there was this one. I'm grateful for the surprise of Mike's spontaneous picnic adventure with BLT sushi and mocha muffins.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then I had the word yum.
That was quite the interesting BLT roll.
That was. Never had anything like that before.
Or since.
And then there was this one. I'm grateful that Mike enjoys spending time with me and is willing to engage in my interests. And that was the time you took me as a surprise to the Craft and Antique Show, which I love.
Okay. Yeah, you do. Yep, you do.
And you even handed me a little wad of money to spend, which, of course, was exciting. Then I had, I'm grateful that Mike is an understanding husband who listens to me and wants to love me well.
That's sweet.
I'm grateful for a husband that knows my flaws and my imperfections, and he still loves me. I'm grateful that Mike is intentional about speaking my love language, picking out thoughtful gifts, and doing acts of service.
You're speaking my love language right now.
I know.
Words of affirmation, they're huge for me.
And those are just a few. And I do know that words of affirmation is one of your primary love languages, honey. And I don't intentionally speak words of affirmation to you enough. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to affirm you.
Thank you.
And just so you know, there are many, many more entries about you in my journal.
Well,
many more.
Thank you. That was very sweet, honey. I appreciate that. You know, when we talk about this whole grateful to thing, I think sometimes it's easiest to forget the people who are closest to us, the ones that we spend the most time around. And so I encourage you, if you're listening and you're, you know, maybe you've got a little tear in your eye after all of that, or maybe you're going, oh my gosh, gag me with a spoon. I don't know. Either way, it's
cheesy.
Okay. That's fine. We don't mind being cheesy once in a while. The truth is, who's sitting right next to you that you might be thankful to, even in a tough season.
Yeah.
There's probably something that you can be thankful to toward that person, even when things aren't really going all that well.
Yeah.
And so I really want to challenge you with that one.
All right, on to the next one.
Let's look at this third area where we can be grateful. It's a little different. We're calling it being grateful with. Okay, now here's the thought. In their book, Option B, by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant, they say that counting our blessings doesn't boost our confidence or our effort. Okay? So it can bring some joy, it can bring some peace, it can bring some other things.
Contentment.
They're supposing that it doesn't boost our confidence or our effort. But counting our contributions can. And that's because gratitude is passive, they say. So that means it makes us feel thankful for what we receive, which is passive. But they say that contributions are active. They build our confidence by reminding us that we can make a difference.
Right.
So this is a totally different aspect of being grateful. And it's grateful about focusing on your strengths and your family's strengths, your blended family's strengths. It's about acknowledging the positive progress or the contributions that you've made along the way. And when you're able to do that, you actually start to feel more confident and less likely to experience a grump fest that could be keeping you stuck in hopelessness or discouragement.
Right.
Or maybe even beating yourself up over some of the mistakes you've made along the way. You've probably made some mistakes. That's okay. You don't have to stay stuck there. You know, I've experienced a lot of failures as a husband and a stepdad. It's actually really humbling to hear some of your affirmations there because I know my failings over the years. But the truth is, as I listen to that, I recognize, you know, probably had more wins than failures over the years. And that's got to be true, or we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
You definitely have more wins. Honey.
Yeah. So don't let the mistakes that you've made in the past cause you to show up with a grumpy attitude this holiday.
Right.
Instead, start taking some inventory of your strengths. What is it that you're going to bring to the family party? What is it that you're going to bring to the dynamic that could bring happiness, joy, engagement, forgiveness, grace, peace, patience with the people around you, and really acknowledge the wins that you've experienced or the ones that you're about to experience over the next few days. Give yourself credit for those contributions that you've made in the journey. I guarantee you, if you're listening to this, every one of you have made a contribution somewhere along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, going through a divorce is a tough experience for most anyone.
Sure.
And it certainly was for me because my marriage had failed and all those dreams I had for our nuclear family were all falling apart. But when I reflect back on that failure, I can choose to beat myself up and focus on all the negative ways that my divorce has impacted my daughter, Annika.
Yeah.
And it has been tough on her. There's no doubt that divorce is a loss for kids.
Yeah.
But I can also choose to focus on the positive things that have happened since my divorce. I'm grateful with the opportunities Annika has had to experience firsthand what a happy, healthy marriage looks like.
Yeah, we've worked pretty hard at trying to show her that.
I mean, she knows that our marriage isn't perfect. We've had our ups and downs over the years. But through our struggles, she also saw us grow together. She saw how we reached out for help when we needed to and invested in our marriage. She witnessed our commitment to each other and to our family as we stayed the course and we didn't give up, even when we hit a lot of bumps in the road.
Right.
She learned about empathy and grace and forgiveness, as well as communication and conflict resolution skills by watching us grow in those areas and then seeing how we applied those to our parenting and everyday life.
True.
She's also been blessed with a loving stepdad who's not perfect,
Nope.
but has been there for her consistently and loved her well for the last 20 years. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So I could choose to stay stuck, ruminating about my past failures and feel guilty and grumpy because of all the mistakes I've made, or I can choose to acknowledge my contributions and the positive impacts that I've made.
Absolutely.
What we've made in our blended family.
That's right.
And we can be proud of the intentional work that we've done over the years, both individually and as a couple, that improved our blended family dynamics and created a healthier home for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of that, I've got one more entry from my journal that I want to share. Listen to this one. I'm grateful that Mike and I could work through a difficult conversation and share our feelings without falling back into old dysfunctional patterns of conflict. Can you believe that was in my journal?
That's pretty amazing, actually. Yeah.
That's a tangible improvement, a contribution we've made to our relationship. And it actually took some intentional effort and energy to learn new ways to communicate. But hasn't it been well worth the work it took, honey?
Absolutely. You know what? I think if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, you know that 10 years ago, we were right on the verge of divorce.
Yeah.
We were there. This is not a result of just passively walking through that season.
Yeah.
We had to work hard.
Right.
And we both had to make contributions to ensuring that we could get where we are today. And if you're struggling as a couple right now, you can do that same thing.
Absolutely.
So much of what we learned is skill. And you can learn those skills around communication and conflict resolution and some of those things that Kim just talked about. And you can be grateful with the contributions that you can make to your marriage, to your blended family, to your parenting, even to that really tough relationship with a former spouse.
Yeah.
You can be grateful with those things.
That's absolutely right, honey. And I'm grateful with the healthier way that we're now able to process together and work through our problems. And if we can do it, so can you.
Absolutely. That's right. So we want to encourage you to identify what you're grateful with. I know it's not proper grammar, but that's okay. We don't care. Maybe even make a list of your strengths or the positive progress that your family has made. Boy, I tell you, looking back on the past sometimes of where you were can really go, okay, it's not perfect today, but boy, it's a lot better, because we've been making contributions. You can stay humble and teachable while you're celebrating your wins. This isn't about tooting your horn or, look at how great I am. That ability to stay humble and teachable and celebrate, those aren't mutually exclusive. So this Thanksgiving, I encourage you to take some time, look back on those wins that you've already had, and decide to be grateful with the contributions that you've already made in your step family. If you're listening to this right now, I know you've made contributions because people who aren't trying aren't listening to podcasts that are looking for help.
That's right.
Okay. So it might even be a great time to start considering the contributions that you're going to make next year, because we're getting really close to 2022. So those are the 3 areas of gratefulness that you can really intentionally think through. What am I grateful for? Who am I grateful to? And how am I being grateful with the contributions that I can make?
Yeah. So maybe you've been listening to this episode and you're thinking, well, all of this is really great, Mike and Kim, but I need more.
Yeah. That was a really cute episode.
Yeah. This just isn't enough to get me out of my grump fest, right? Maybe that's where you're at.
Yeah.
And maybe you're feeling really discouraged right now.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're feeling hopeless.
Yep.
Maybe you've been beating yourself up and reliving all your mistakes, and your confidence is a bit shaky right now, and you're carrying around a lot of guilt or uncertainty. Maybe this is the year your kids will be spending the holiday at their other home, and you're already struggling because you know how much you're going to be missing them.
Yeah.
For those of us living in a blended family, there can be all kinds of issues to navigate, things that are overwhelming, confusing, and stressful.
That's right. And we know how tough these dynamics can be because we've lived through so many difficult holiday seasons and experienced some really great ones along the way as well. But the reality is you can choose to continue to move forward toward a positive mindset of gratitude. Choose gratitude over grumpiness. I'm convinced you can do it. So to help you do that, we've listed out a few episodes that you might want to go back to that are focused on some specific areas, like episode 51, which is focused on overcoming discouragement. That might be really helpful for you this holiday season. Episode 99 are 3 tips to help you move beyond painful guilt and regret, right? So we get beyond that so that we can focus on what we're grateful with, those contributions. You might consider episode 84, how to cope with sadness, anxiety, and longing while your kids are gone.
Right.
You know, if your kids aren't with you on Thanksgiving this year, we know that that can be really painful. So you might want to go get some encouragement there.
Yeah.
And there's several other holiday-related episodes that could be helpful for you to review as the season approaches. And so we're putting links to those, all of those that I just named, and some extras in the show notes.
Check it out.
And you know, if you're really struggling, we've got some openings on our calendar right now that you could schedule a free coaching call with us, and we'd be happy to help you work through whatever you might be struggling with in the moment.
Right. And maybe it's not you that's feeling grumpy, but it's one of your kids or stepkids that tends to struggle with feelings of discontent or seem to be ungrateful, especially around the holidays. And we know that any special occasion can be a time of increased stress and highly charged emotions for blended families, especially for the kids.
Yeah. So if you want to be proactive and prepare now for the possibility or maybe probability that one of the kids is going to be struggling with some difficult emotions or a negative attitude, some disappointment, you may want to go check out episode 71, which is how to help kids cope with painful holiday disappointment. We really want you to be ready for all of that and have the ability to respond well. And you probably want to be ready for it as well. So you can help your kids and your stepkids process through any difficult emotions that they might be experiencing this holiday season. And that'll actually ease some of the tension and probably pave the way for more connection in your family.
Absolutely.
So you might want to go check that one out.
And one more thought around gratitude, which happens to be one of our family's values, especially because an attitude of gratitude is actually the antidote for entitlement.
That's right.
So if you're hoping to teach your kids to be grateful and instill this value in your home, we've included a link in the show notes for a great resource from Family Life called the Gratitude Project. And it's all about hands-on thankfulness for families with creative activities, fun games, and conversation starters for your family. And they've also got some awesome articles for adults and some great parenting tips in there. I went and checked it out, and it's pretty robust.
Yeah, for sure. And it's great to go get those different activities and things that really gets your mind engaged in gratitude and having that attitude of gratitude. Because if you want to teach your kids that, I'm telling you, it actually starts with you.
Yep.
They're going to catch what you're doing. And if you're focused on gratitude, the things that you're grateful for, they're going to engage in that as well. They'll probably pick up on that.
Yeah.
And because the character trait of having an attitude of gratitude is a priority for our family, we've explored a lot of different ways to model that to our kids and live that value in our home over the years by engaging in some gratitude-focused activities, different conversations, different traditions that we've done that's really paid off for us in watching our kids be grateful for the things that they have and the people they're grateful to, and even starting to really learn what they're grateful with and the type of contributions that they get to make to the world, which is super cool. So we haven't done this perfectly over the years, but it's been a place where we've gotten really intentional, and you can get intentional too. So we encourage you to download that free resource that Kim was just talking about from Family Life, or even just Google how to teach kids gratitude. You'll find all kinds of ideas. Like, Google is not short on ideas.
No.
I promise, right? Or anywhere, Bing, Google, whoever, DuckDuckGo, whatever you like.
Matter.
Just give it a shot. The simple activities, the simplest ones, might be the start of something brand new for your Thanksgiving traditions, and your family might open up brand new opportunities for them to bond and develop and grow. You never know what you'll just kind of stumble over when you try these things out.
Yeah.
So this year, don't allow grumpiness to hijack your holiday.
No.
Choose gratitude instead. This is a choice. What blessings are you grateful for? Who in your life are you grateful to? And what imperfect progress are you going to celebrate and really be grateful with the contributions that you've been making?
Yeah. And before we sign off, we want to express our gratitude for all of you, our listeners.
That's right.
And I'm going to share 2 entries from my gratitude journal that are actually about you guys.
Oh, you better listen up.
Number 611. I'm grateful for our wonderful clients and listeners that continue to invest in their family to learn, grow, and connect with us.
Awesome.
And then there was number 658. And it was, I'm grateful for supportive feedback and positive reviews of the podcast.
Yeah.
And here's one I actually wrote down in my journal. Mike and Kim are leaving a legacy for us to follow. I'm grateful. Since listening to your show, I can sleep now. I have hope there's a way to figure this out.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really humbling.
That was so encouraging to me that I recorded it in my journal. It was very meaningful.
That's awesome.
We're so grateful to you, and we hope that you and your family have a gratitude-filled Thanksgiving and a wonderful holiday season.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks so much for tuning in with us today. And Kim just shared about that review on the podcast that she recorded in her journal. And I just want to encourage you, so that you don't miss on episodes, go ahead and hit subscribe. Yeah. Leave a rating, leave a review. We would love to hear from you. And we're so grateful, again, for your encouragement. So thank you for being our listeners. We so appreciate you. But that is going to make our episode all about gratitude a wrap.
Until next time.